You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Mama Amba, with your love for us, we can assure Ambazonia is free. Today on Mother's Day, we shine a heartfelt spotlight on the mothers of Ambazonia, whose spirits in the face of unimaginable trials remain unbroken and fiercely radiant. Each Ambazonian mother stands as a testament to resilience, nurturing life and hope in a landscape marred by turmoil and the harshness perpetrated by French Cameroon's brutality. Their pain is deep, having shed blood and tears for their beloved land and lost children. Yet in their profound grief, they have not buried their beliefs in freedom and justice, but have instead sown these values even deeper in the soul of Ambazonia. Their love, boundless, their courage, immeasurable. These remarkable women have faced the darkness, yet they continue to embody the light, remaining fruitful amidst adversity. Their labor tirelessly, not just in the fields of their cherished land, but in the heart of their communities, nurturing the next generation with the strength and wisdom of warriors and peacekeepers. Their hands, though weathered by hardship, are the same hands that cradle the future, that plant seeds of hope and sustain the spirit of independence that defines Ambazonia. Today, we honor the Ambazonian mothers who, in the silence of their sacrifices and the loudness of their battles, show us what it truly means to fight for the essence of home and freedom. To every mother who has picked up the metaphorical weapons of resilience, love, and unyielding faith in the face of adversity, your valor inspires us. You do not fight alone. Your dreams for a peaceful, independent Ambazonia echo in the hearts of many around the world. On this Mother's Day, we celebrate you, Ambazonian mothers, not just as the hearts of your homes, but as the undying heartbeat of a nation striving for its rightful place under the sun. Your resilience sketches the blueprint for Ambazonia's tomorrow. May your tears of yesterday water the seeds of tomorrow's freedom, peace, and prosperity. Happy Mother's Day to the unwavering, formidable mothers of Ambazonia. Your strength lights our path to a brighter future. Mama Amba, with your love for us, we can assure Ambazonia is free.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. Let me start this program today by wishing all of you a happy new year, particularly those who are watching in neighboring La République du Cameroon, those who are watching in refugee camps in Nigeria, Benin, and Ghana, and particularly to our Ambazonians at the home front, and especially our ASA, Ambazonia State Army. I want to thank you all for being here today and hope you stay the course and enjoy the program. This is the best time to reflect on what has transpired during the past year, 2024, and look forward to this new year, 2025. First of all, let me start by apologizing for the late start. We've had some technical issues, but we hope the program will be enjoyed by all our viewers and listeners. Today, I have with us Dr. Winnie Lobati. I think it's appropriate to begin the show with one of our strongest leaders in our journey for recognition, the Speaker of the House. She's going to be here mostly on that capacity, although she's going to talk a little bit about being a woman in the struggle. Mawini, let me welcome you to just say a few words of greetings, and then we can proceed with the program. Welcome to the Horizon, and you look great.
Thank you, my patients. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to the viewers. Thank you for letting us in your homes. And Mape, thank you for inviting me again. It's not taken for granted. I appreciate you, and thanks and Happy New Year to all our tech crew who are in the background that you don't see them. They make this happen. They help to fix some things that we had some technical problems. So thank you.
Wonderful. Let me also, this is something that I just thought about. January 1st was La Republique's Independence Day. So let me wish them a belated happy Independence Day. I don't know if there were any celebrations. I really wasn't watching their television, but I hope they celebrated their Independence Day. I don't know what you want to say something about that, Mawini.
I will have a word or two. Yes, I think they did celebrate, but not in the, I don't think in the capacity of Independence Day, but in the capacity of it's a new year. So, but we began to understand why Bonne Année was more important to them than Christmas was to us during this holiday season, was because truly it was really their Independence Day. Those in La République du Cameroon, happy anniversary. It's, I think, 64 years for them because they got independence in 1960 and we got ours October, over a year later. And so, happy birthday, La République du Cameroon, for your independence. Hopefully, you will truly be independent economically and politically and culturally. We wish and pray that for you, because once you are that, then you will not be the bully in the playground.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to just start with my first question, Mawini. It's going to be a loaded question. I think it's going to probably, that's the core why we're here. We're talking about the government and Ambazonia in retrospective. So the year 2024 just ended. And I want to ask you this question. Take your time. What are some of the highlights and lowlights that are relevant to the Ambazonia struggle that we witnessed in 2024? If you want to add something that happened before, that's fine. But our focus is 2024. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my patients. I want to say 2024, we started on a high note. December of 2023, we had just had a constitutional amendment that moved us from our interim government to the government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, or the government of Southern Cameroons. And so we started with that high note. And having that high note, we were all enthusiastic. We were happy that this was helping to revive the spirits of the people. And then we had the federal draft that came along, and then we also had the county drafts, and then eventually we had the transition draft. So Ambazonians, I want to give you a big applaud. You did a great job because you were able to shoulder all this as the president explained the need. This is just talking about drafts. It doesn't talk about all the other community projects, like the one that Department of Women's Services does, or does more than one a year, and the one of the HSS. So we just want to applaud every Ambazonia, both recipients and donors. We applaud you because in doing so, as a recipient, you acknowledge your government and you acknowledge the help. And as a donor, you support your government and ensure that they can try to meet the little that they can do to alleviate some of the challenges that our people may be facing, be it on at the home front or in refugee camps or internally displaced or even on the other side, and even the prisoners. And so there was a lot that was done. I don't want to steal the thunder of what you the department did. As a woman, I'm also part of the Department of Women's Services. As a woman, in spite of the fact that I'm the Speaker of the House, I'm also a woman first before being a speaker. So yes, that was wonderful. In terms of some of the low lights, there was a little bit of confusion, which grew from the middle of the year to the second, let me say the second half of 2024. There was some confusion of people who did not understand what was carried on in 2023 as a constituent assembly and amendment change. And because of that ignorance, they felt like the president and the speaker just cooked something in the back of the somewhere in the back corner of the road or the street, or however they thought we came up with that, and just shove it down the throat. Never, never are we going to shove things down that require a legal constitutional change of our constitution. We will never shove that down the throat of the people. Remember this, that we are running from a country that really only has what they call a constitution in abstract, but uh, they do not carry it or obey it, or it is selectively used against those that they want to use it against, or what they want to use it for their benefit. And so you always hear them say the president is the constitution. How can the president be the constitution? He can only uphold or defend it, but he cannot really be the constitution. The constitution is the will and collective direction and guidance, as I would say, of the people for the nation, to keep us to stay within the banks of the river and not hurt each other as we go. Yes, now we do have what is called the order in council, which was one of those things that happened when we had that constitutional change at the end of 2023 and it rolled into 2024. But permit me say this: with 2024, we were able to have different what we call intergovernmental meetings, and with other arms of government in the house. We invited the the judiciary at some point, and we invited the executive branch at some point. And there were some other things that were done. And some things are good that we will put them in the public, some and that we are currently going to be working on, we will not put in the public until they are completed. I mean, when I mean public, I don't mean away from the Ambazonia people. The Ambazonia people will know, however, because they have representatives in the house. However, just throwing it out, it's like me. Some of the things we're doing will be like an army opening its armory and calling the enemy, come see what we have. Just take a look. And here's the back door. You can have this. And so whenever you want to help yourself, come help yourself to destroy us. So we will not do that.
Wow, thank you so much. You mentioned that you guys invited the judiciary and some branches of the executive. I'm just thinking, do you have plans to invite different cabinet members to come share what they are doing in their different departments?
Thank you, my patience, for that. That is usually when we invite the executive branch, we can invite everybody in the executive branch. They can come with all the various departments, and we have some working section. But when it comes to really dealing with working on, hey, tell us, what are you doing in your department? What is going on? What are your challenges? What are your strengths? How can we help? How can you be accountable to the people of Ambazonia? That usually will be carried out within the committees of the house that are set. And then when they work on that, then they bring reports back to the house sessions, either with recommendations or something that, if would need be, to bring that specific department or departments, then the house would invite them to come for an open session with the, let me not say open session, a session with the house. But in terms of working with departments, let everybody know we have committees, and sometimes we may even appoint subcommittees to look into something, and sometimes that is, the house usually will vote to have such subcommittees because we already have established committees. Something may be in a niche that may require that we have certain individuals to help, or skill set, or unique circumstances, or even availability that might require that a subcommittee be appointed and empowered by the House to carry out a specific duty and then report back to the House. Otherwise, we already have committees. So I will really appeal, when you get an invitation letter from a committee from the House and you are a department head, or you are, it doesn't matter whether you are department head or non-department head, when you are invited, know that what you are, the services you're going to provide, is going to be very crucial and very important. So honor it. You're not doing it. It's not for you to defend yourself or shield yourself. It is for you to help Ambazonia while we are in the struggle to get ahead.
All right. We look forward to those invitations. Thank you so much. We all have to do what we can do to make our government a strong one. So we move from the interim House of Representative to House of Representative, and now to the restored House of Assembly under the government now we have of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. How has the House of Assembly adjusted to its new role?
Slowly but surely they are adjusting. The one thing that I think some of the creation of maybe misunderstanding is the fact that the way our constitution and our terms of reference are put in place now, it actually does guide us how we function in the house. And as we function in the house, we are in the process of revising our terms of reference, and doing, I mean, the house terms of reference as we function now that we are a restored House of Assembly. Remember, the Restoration Council was considered a quasi legislative, they had a quasi legislative role. So if we are now the House of Assembly, we will be having a full legislative role. Even though we are in transit with the orders in council, being that until we get to Boya on the ground, then we will be able to now draw a new constitution with the input of the people at home front, and the input of various experts, um, giving input to various aspects of the Constitution and legal minds that are constitutional experts to help us put a constitution that would govern our nation. But right now, because of the nature of how the government is in the struggle, we don't have courts in our saying. We don't have we don't really have a lot of the infrastructures of governance in our hands per se, like having you can do a lot of things because you're not seated in Boya, you're not seated in your county seats now, and you don't have a judiciary system in place. We have a commission, and so it becomes a challenge to really put a constitution without the voice of the people saying, yes, we agree to this full constitution of our country. There is something else I may want to mention. Remember, because we came from the former, our former foster parent was the United Kingdom. And so when the order in council was put in place to govern us, because when Nigeria was about to gain its independence, we as a foster parents, a trust territory of the United Nations, could not be governed by another nation that was just got its independence, or else it would have looked like we were actually enslaved by that nation. You would have created
Yeah.
that enslavement. Unfortunately, when we voted in February of 1961, the sad thing was that word of independence by joining. I don't know how you can be independent by joining,
Yeah, no.
but they carved that out. What we really wanted was our independence. The by joining part was not what we were interested in. But we picked one of two evil, whether you were picking the ocean or you were picking the fire to jump into. And we unfortunately picked I think, the fire, because we've been in that fire and that heat since, oh, actually, technically, September 30th, when the instruments of governance were passed over to Haiju instead to Funcha, who was Prime Minister of Southern Cameroons.
Okay, so now that you've explained the metamorphosis, I should say, how we came from where we came from to where we are now, what special activities did the House of Assembly carry out in 2024? We just need some specifics so that people can really know exactly that their house is doing some work for them.
Okay, let's put it this way. Um, if you, for those who, we got a new thing that came called the transition draft. And that transition draft, the president would not have been able to just go about, but fundraising is part of it. So politely, that was something the president notified the House in part of the meetings that we had about the transition draft. And then there were some other bigger workshops that the House and other government, arms of government, tiers of government were participated in the DC. October 1, and then sometime later in, I think, was that November? You were part of that, my patients. And you could, it was an intense workshop. I was not privy to be in that, but at least I kept tabs of that because the House had to be. But these were grassroots bed work that we are also already participating and in looking forward to provide some. So while that is going on, some of the things I will not release them here. Like I said, I will not open our store of armory and call the soldier of our enemies to come and see and pick what they like. So we are working on some things that would help strengthen our government and our transition as we go. And you know that, my patients. And in the house is very key and instrumental when we started that process in working on some of those things. Um, Also, there have been many issues that arose as a result of people having confusion about uh, amended constitution, not amended constitution, this or that. But okay, the House has been steadfast. They've held the ground. They've exposed the inaccuracies of what were listed, even by from even within the house members who did not understand, an illegal house member who have been participating illegally in some of the things that were not supposed to be done. Those are some of our low lights, but we will handle those within the house. The house, I think we are getting mature. When we came from the interim house representatives to where we are now. And as we do that, we get people getting to understand their role. But knowing that one of the challenges, I don't want to minimize the challenges, it's a volunteerism task that you are doing, I am doing in serving the people of Ambazonia. So it takes time, it takes extra effort. And this you do, even whether it's the president, the vice president, whoever. For those of you viewers who are back at home, we still have to live and we still have to feed families, just like you guys are struggling, even on with bullets passing left and right. You still manage to um, protect your family and live on so that we don't come and meet an empty nation with no citizens. So we also still try to balance those things. Some upcoming legislative pieces and bills will be coming up this year. Part of it will also be from those working sessions. Some of them will be some that we are going to be introducing to help strengthen our government and take out some of the unknowns. And there are other bigger chunks of bites that we will see how we can bite them as we move, or how we can go about them, or do we need to wait and help ourselves later, or do we need to move on to get ahead? They are things of governance, organizations, and implementation of things that we need to do to move and stay ahead. Whether it's in the diplomatic arena, whether it's in the human services, or whether it is in relating with the people back at home, the refugees, or the international community, or the press. Um, those things are challenge and we're working. We actually did launch one program for the public, was the Ambazonia and the insight of the House of Representative, a TV program. I have been on that program once. All our members that will be helping us to run that are still in some preparatory phase to get all the things that they need. I can't run a show by myself and be the only one to talk, but we hope that they will come along, and so as a team, because we are a house, as a team we work on that. Yes.
Okay, I missed what you just. What will that program be called? The
um
Do you have a name?
the insight, just have this as a broad name. It will come, we will put it and post it inside the House of Assembly.
Okay, I'm looking
N
forward to
I
that.
S
Yes,
NISIGHT.
yes. Okay, we're looking forward to that. Those are great things for maybe my next question, which should be what is on the horizon, is probably what you already started to answer, which I didn't even
Yeah.
ask yet. But I'm going to still ask the question. But before I get there, um, in terms of the general um, outlook of 2024, we've gone from very difficult years in the past, 2021, 2022, and then 2024. So there's a progression. We are getting stronger as a government now, from being an interim government now to a government. And the fundraising machine, money makes the world go round. The fundraising machine, thanks to our Secretary of State, Ma Sarah, for being steadfast. We need money. Do you want to say anything about this idea of why people should continue giving money? Because that's really one of the ways that you show your support for a government.
Thank you. You remember I just said we don't have our um, instruments of governance, which means government do pass laws how to collect taxes to maintain and run a government. But in this volunteerism era, we
Mhm,
have but donors who are well wishers, Ambazonians, who generously support to keep and make sure that we get to the ultimate end, Boya.
mhm, mhm,
That is what is happening, and it will continue to happen. And I want to thank everyone that has been a participant in helping keep the flame alive. Can you let me put a rhetorical question here? Can you imagine when Prince Ayamba and the others were hiding in the corners, and they had their, whether it was Boya Mountain Club, where they were talking about our independence that was stolen, and we didn't even know a thing about that. We were oblivious to what, but they kept that little flame going until that touch, that little flame ignited the torch in 2016.
mhm,
So, yes, I'm sure if they had a little more resources, they would have probably helped educate more people. They may not have done it on a large scale because social media was not in place then. But social
right.
media helped speed up the process for us. But it takes money to run and keep these things going on social media. We are here. You are in one part of America. You're in the West Coast. I'm in the Midwest, and we're both um, on ABC. Director Paddy is helping to produce us in another angle, in another part of the world, and we have satellites that can carry and propel our programming and programs to your homes in
Mhm,
um, at the home front and
mhm,
in many other parts of the world. So guess what? The money is important to keep the ASA going and the people hopeful. It takes money. But let me tell you one other thing. Whether we like it or we don't, La République as a nation and a member of the United Nations, they have many instruments in their favor where they can get resources until they become bad debtors. Then people can shy away and refuse to give them money if they need to borrow. But they did not need to be borrowing because they are actually stealing already from Ambazonia to finance their exorbitant lifestyles that does not take care of the common man. But um, we don't have access to our resources, and therefore, to continue, we have to volunteer, we have to support financially and with our time to be able to
mhm,
keep this going to its ultimate end, getting to Buya. At that point, there will be probably reparations that will be um, the perpetrator will be asked to pay. They can take all the loans they want in the world, but we're not going to be part of those loans because we did not vote. Remember, The House of Assembly never ratified whatever came out of Pumba. It was never ratified. That's why we
Yeah.
don't have anything in the United Nations. Because if it
Mm-hmm.
was ratified by our house,
Mm-hmm.
the premier then, John Gufoncha, would have signed it and it would have moved on to the United Nations. And all what we're doing here would have been history. It would have been an
Mm-hmm.
internal rebellion. But it is not because there was no ratification. It was
Mm-hmm.
an intent. It was an intent, but there was no ratification.
Okay, so let me move on to the question that you already started answering. What is on the horizon for the House of Assembly in 2025? Should we look forward to and aspire to see from you guys?
Thank you, Mappy. I'm happy because I think the way I flow, I just talk and start pushing some of the things that are down the line, the pipeline.
Yes.
We are going to be taking up some of the um, workshops that were done, and some of the things coming out of that workshop will be presented as bills to the House for us to deliberate and bring them out. Ambazonians, you will get to know those. They are very good, and I'm happy about it. I am very happy about some of the things that I know are down the pipeline. I'm excited for it. However, um, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I would love for it to take its process, walk its
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Representatives will take it to their constituency and let them know where we are, and we will do these things. Part of that is that in preparation for transition to the ground, we are going to be working. Let me use the bigger word, groundwork things that allows the government to get to Boya and open the
Mm-hmm.
offices, sweep and dust things and set their benches and things. Oh, don't worry, I'm fine. And our people are okay. And we can sweep out the doors, open the doors, put in tables. Even if we have to put the mats to sit down and start writing, we can start immediately. That is the work that we are going to be doing to help us in that phase. So we are excited about it. Um, I am excited about it, and I'm sure you are too, Mappy, because you were in that
Yes.
workshop uh, thing. And then it would help us to quickly navigate being back home and not be caught up off guard and not know how to turn left or to turn right.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Um, Now we're going to change a little bit, coming to the future, looking at what we want to see in 2025. But I want to start it by focusing on women. I'm going to say this. I have had conversations with UN, and UN will say something like that. Say, it says, Doc, do you know that if women were not in this our journey to Boya, and it was always men, they would have called it a terrorist organization. He says things like, because of us women being there, and women that are in respective positions, women that are trustworthy and loyal, and they are volunteering their time and putting money, it makes it more a legal institution, to use the word legal. So I just want to start by saying that women are so instrumental in this our journey to Boya. So we cannot underestimate their role, their involvement, their contributions. What do you envision for the Amazonian women when we get to Boya? In short, are there any potential bills that the legislative arm of government can do to ensure the human rights, dignity, and prosperity of the Amba woman?
Thank you. I am glad I am a woman. Being a Speaker of the House as a woman is a plus for us. I don't think we shy away. That's probably part of our Anglo-Saxon inheritance. Remember, we had Margaret Thatcher as the premier
Mhm.
for UK for several
Yes.
years. Growing up, I kept hearing Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady. But you know,
Yes.
the beauty about having women involved is that we have the pulse of what is happening, the compassion, the intuitiveness of knowing what is going on. Despite the men are like, let me use an analogy here. It doesn't mean that it's only applicable only to men. Men like to go hunt and bring the catch and bring it home. Women want to see and make sure that as everybody is home, even though you bring the catch, we want to be able to cook and have that game shared so everybody in the home can partake of it. So we have this heart, the mother heart, to nurture and to care. So as a woman, let me start. I'll use myself as a woman. Our involvement got us. What got us was once we understood the injustice that had been done to our people and the
Mhm.
stolen restoration or the stolen independence or let me call it I'm trying to use a word that should usurped independence because it was really usurped. We never really had it because it was given to us, but somebody usurped our authority and took away our freedoms. Therefore, because of that, we something in us said this is not right. Justice has to be served. This is
Mhm.
incorrect, and that's why you and I are here. We see the injustice, we could not stand it, we could not tolerate it, and we say, okay, we can make a change. We don't just want to see it, talk about it. We want to see that change is brought. I can tell you, probably the number of us in general, I would say in general, I will not be surprised, my patients, that
Mhm.
majority of the women engage in majority of the people engaged in the struggle now are women.
That's true.
It will not surprise me.
Yeah.
You want to see it? Go count how many people are in your department forum and see how many
Mhm.
numbers you have in there, and then see check the other forums and then subtract that. It'll give you a good idea of how engaged are the women, and you may not
Mhm.
even have all the women that are engaged on your forum. So just do that little simple math, and you will see that majority. It's because the motherly instinct in us, the
Mhm.
wanting justice and fairness, is in us, and we cannot walk away from it. And we want to see it to the ultimate end. So women have been so instrumental in ensuring that Ambazonia is free. Ambazonia truly has sovereignty. Ambazonia has genuine law that governs the land. If you talk to you and I, we are blessed that we still have some parents or a parent or some other elderly people that
Mhm.
came out. They may have been young then when they came out of the British system. I remember I would say one of my parents talking about the Empire Day, the activities they did during Empire Day. We never saw it. We were the after kids of the after of the independence. But guess what? They talk about it with all life and joy and whatever. And then from nowhere, of course, because Britain had already given, granted, we were already independent, things change. But see what they remember. How they will talk about roadworthiness, they will talk about sanitary inspectors coming
Mhm.
to check that places were clean. So they had services that we just lost them. I remember girl guide, brown girl, what we had, the Boy Scouts, those things, those were things that were inherited from our British culture, and they all over time have disappeared. But why is it important for women to not only be involved, but also to have things that protect the rights? I will be a strong advocate that we have specific laws enshrined in our constitution that protect the lives and the dignity of women. Let's go back to how our culture operates in Africa. I want to give this analogy. Across sub
Yeah.
Saharan Africa, it may be the same. Most women are either you are you you are raised, you get married, and you are with your family, your husband's family. Most of the people, if you don't have a good husband, they feel like you are their property.
Yeah.
When their husband dies, granted, the life expectancy of males across the world is shorter than that of women. There's a good reason for that. It's the some of it has to do with biology, and don't want to go into that. We'll keep that for another day, when it becomes important. Why it is? It's some of the hormones that protect us and allow us to live longer. The men in they don't live as long. The age difference of life expectancy probably somewhere between maybe 5 to 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you are. The average life expectancy in sub-Saharan Africa is much lower than in the diaspora, Europe and America, where we are, um, than that of sub-Saharan Africa. So most often the men die and the wives are left. And if the children that they have are already, if they're grown up, if you're blessed that your children have grown up, then the inheritance gets passed to the male sons. That's why we have what we call chokche
Mm-hmm.
in our culture. And the girls or the women are bypassed. While that seems fair because they are afraid that if a woman gets married, she will carry the inheritance of the family to her husband's home and then the family. There is only one other culture that within our system, which is the com culture, where it's the nephew, a nephew of a man, the sister's son that does inheritance on that line, and they have their own reasons for that, but that's enshrined in their own culture. So the men kind of have to plan for that succession of inheritance as well as provide for their children. But most often, we the female children in our culture are not included in inheritance rights,
Mm-hmm.
and it is not fair. Let me guarantee you, when the parents get older and they are sicker, most often it's the daughters that take them in and care for them.
Yeah.
And part of that, why is it that way? It's because the laws have not protected women strong enough, that the culture itself is very paternalistic and ignores the rights of women and girls, and
Exactly.
therefore you have this difficulty of having your daughters really come of age. And so the best most parents would do is, if you educate your daughter and they have a good job and they move, then they move, you've helped yourself for your old age. But then, um, when you have challenges, succession, you usually find if the man doesn't have a son, they want to throw out the wife and the daughters so that some male figure of the family becomes the one to inherit. Fewer people move ahead of their time that will allow the distribution of their estate to include their daughters. So that would be one thing that we should look into, helping our women is to have enshrined in the law. If women and daughters, the men should be allowed for their own share within the estate when they pass on, so that women are not left out. That's why a lot of women, when they get widowed and they have young children, they strain and struggle a lot, because if they don't have a good support network from their husband's family, then they are considered outsiders.
You know,
So,
that is even that goes without saying. I mean, think about it. When you have children, you have a son or a daughter, those are both your kids. Why
thank
would
you.
you prefer one over the other just because one is a son and the other one is a daughter? You should treat them equally. In fact, based on their characters, you should treat them as human beings. If they are trustworthy, they are loyal, they are respectful, that's what that should be based on, and not whether the one is a male or a female. So I'm glad that will be in something that the government will look into to protect women's dignity in the future. We continue this conversation in terms of 2025. I know we focus mostly on women. I'm going to ask this one question, then I'm going to talk as a general question about 2025. Um, I okay. There's a saying that, and this is also important. I just ask a question why you treat one lesser than the other when they are both your children. But there's a saying that if you educate a woman, you've educated a village. How then can this be implemented or facilitated? Because right now we still have some cultures where uh, if you have children, the male is sent to school and the daughter is left there to just get older and married off and to be a child producing machine. What tools can we give to our daughters, our granddaughters, our mothers and grandmothers to ensure they are equipped to be part of a nation building that we are projecting? You've already mentioned that there are more women right now likely in our journey than men, and they are already in the world. There are more women in the world than men, so that applies to Ambazonia also. So that means that they are very instrumental in this nation building. What tools will you have for them to make sure that they come out thriving and have a nation that will be thriving also?
I think we start by, the first thing is how we raise our kids in the home. Um, thank God I was raised by a mom who did not feel like there were certain domestic duties that were only to be assigned to women, and then the sons had to do something different or nothing at all. My mom did not raise us that way. Everybody, you had your turn, you did the stuff, we did the work at home. If you so I ended up having brothers that could cook, could bake, because we all had to do everything. So one thing that we need to do is, first of all, we need to change that culture as we raise our sons. Number one, that's where to start. Respect and honor your sisters. You all have equal human rights.
Mhm.
If we start that from within the family circle, and if our fathers, our brothers, our grandfathers start now, if they understand this, they can start going against the grain of bad culture. Let me use that word, bad culture, culture that undermines women. Once they start speaking up for that, then when they put their will or do whatever at their estate, then whoever and whatever is the person that, you know how they call successor or chokye, it will be honored, because our people are good at honoring the last testament of their loved one that passed. So, with that said, we can now, this is within the family setting, and let me say, family, yeah, and cultural setting. However, there are other things that, as a government, we can do. For example, I remember um, hearing a story about one of my mom's cousin, when she's much older than my mom, much, much older. So she was sent to go live with a relative. And when she came back to the village, she was very, very intelligent, and very intelligent and a wise woman. My grandfather, my mom's dad, saw and said, "How on earth did they leave a young girl like this without an education?" How then? Because then most of the women at that age and that time at least went to the vernacular school where they learned Mungaka to read and write it. So how then would she be able to read the Word of God and teach her children the Word of God? That was his concern and prayer. At that time, it was not even so much about she needed to get a job. It was the moral and spiritual values that he saw that she was going to miss on because of the lack of the ability of learning to read and write, at least the vernacular language that was at the time. So, with that said, the value of education on your daughters should not be something to be compromised. Let all your children go to school if they so choose, and if they are bent towards the technical side of wanting to do things with their hands and being innovative, encourage that and let them go that route. But it educates them. And once you educate them, you have educated a village. Why? She'll be the one, when she has more kids, she'll be the one to help and make sure those her kids are educated, because she values education. She will be the one to take care of you in your old age. Don't misquote me. Some men are very, very wonderful at doing that to their parents. They have that compassionate heart to do that. So, but women, we have this feeling of wanting to gather. We want to bring people. We want to nurture them. It's just, we are wired that way. So when you do that, your family, you can guarantee that even as you give an inheritance to your kids and including them, that inheritance may not only be property, it may be in education that you give them. If you see education as an inheritance, give it to them. There will be no fight over the education that's in her brain. Nobody will ever can claim a boundary dispute with your education that you have. Nobody. It's a tool and something that is very important. So, one way that we can help as a government is to provide, I would say, some level of free education beyond elementary, all the way to secondary education. Make availability that the least we have. Some people are academically inclined in one direction. Some people like crafts and want to do things with their hands. Technically inclined. Let's make that provision. I remember when I was in primary school, I remember that we used to have a few schools that girls who wanted to, they were not going to secondary school. Besides, remember, it was also a stereotype. Girls went to learn typing because they were going to be
Secretaries.
typists in offices. Okay, that was not healthy. Everybody should have learned how to. Today, what are we doing? We're all typing on computers. We all have to have some skill of using computer and typing. Okay, but then there were a few craft schools where women. I think if I would look in the olden times of the Europeans, they would have been called finishing schools, where the rich and the famous would send their daughters to go to finishing school to learn the fine art of behaving, etiquettes, how to eat, how to do this, how to do that. We had some schools where there were not that many. They went to learn to crochet, to knit, to basically
Mm-hmm.
home economics and home management.
Right.
That was the best that we could get. Why could we not have included business skills in those schools so that they know? Some of them came back open shops, whether they were sewing or they were knitting or they were um, opening a bakery shop or whatever. We could have included some level of them learning some business skills and tools so that they could learn to manage what. So it was not only when you knit and you're done, when you're gone, all of that goes. But they could have learned other economic tools, account, a little bit of accounting to management that would have had them. Some of them would have grown their crafts. Let me put it this way. Don't we see that some of the big people you see about you have all the fashion parades and all what are happening in the Western world? We hail those. Guess what? We had those, but we just did not value them.
Mm-hmm.
While the people in the West value those that designers. You hear them called designer clothes. How do you think they came about? Because somebody took the time to do that. But we undermined it when it concerned our girls. So they went to such. There were not that many. So there is, like we talked, the technical aspect of school. I don't want just having school. Thank God that I studied in America. And my patients, you understand this. We don't do only cognitive knowledge. You don't do only didactics. America has the culture of hands-on didactic application, hands-on. So you learn and you reinforce and you move on. And as you do that, it helps you to be able to get um, we call muscle memory as well as cognitive memory.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do that and allow our girls. There are some other issues of things that happen to our daughters along the way that people may find it difficult. Say, okay, we need to pull you out of school. Take teenage teenage pregnancy and all whatnot. That should never be a reason why a girl should not go back or even continue to go to school if they are able to when they have the baby. That we should all eliminate some of those taboos that kept our daughters away from going to school.
Okay, so Marwin, you're really saying that the Ambazonia that we are looking forward to having, where we will be seated in Boye and govern, will be an Ambazonia that will really focus on education of everyone, not excluding women, like it's been done in the past. That will really be very take into consideration the health care of women, the human property rights of women, so that properties are not just only by men, but women and girls, and also focus on economic development. I'm going to change focus now and talk about uh, generalities. I want to, this is 2025, and we know that a lot of things will be happening in 2025 in La Republic land and in Southern Cameroons. We have our ESA there that are mainly defending home front. That's where they are. They are mostly currently guerrilla fighters, and they know when to strike. And the government is doing a great thing to try to keep them safe. Although every now and then we get sad news of some of their demise. Now, 2025, we heard from the president of our neighboring country, that he's going to be running for office again. And we know that things will happen this 2025. And it's a critical year. It's a very critical year for Ambazonia to make headway. This is the year that we will know exactly where we stand. That's what I believe. In that light, what do you suggest that people should do at different levels? At an individual level, at the level of LGAs, where you have leadership headed by their LGA chairs. At the level of county, you have county chairs. At the level of the executive, you have cabinet members and their secretary of state. At the level of the presidency, at the level of the House, you've already explained the House's role and what they plan to do. What should be the focus of all these different branches, individual group, to work on as we plan to reclaim our territory in 2025? And this is a loaded question, so take your time and let's just have a conversation, because we cannot just do things without planning, without thinking, and it comes from the soul. Let's think about having wasted so many years, and you don't want it to be a waste. You don't want 2025 to just come and say, what happened? What did we do? To get the best results, you have to lay out some plans at different levels. So, Ma, we're having this conversation, but I want you to just tell us what you think for these different levels that I've enumerated.
Let me first of all say, the president of La République de Cameroon, whether he wants to clone himself and keep running for president, that's none of our business, period. We are a separate nation and we're not part of it. That being said, knowing our position, that we are a separate nation, we have no obligation. Our citizens, the citizens of Southern Cameroons, are under no obligation to vote in another nation's election. And once we understand that, we can educate our people. For example, my patients, you and I migrated to the United States. And we went through a process called permanent resident before we became citizen. And even as a permanent resident, we could never vote.
Mm-hmm.
We could pay taxes, we could enjoy some amenities, but we had no voice in how those things got voted on until you became a citizen. Why I just want to make that clear, so that when people understand that they are not a citizen of La République, and technically they are not obligated to vote and should not vote because it's illegal. If you're trying to vote, then you water down the vote, or you it's funny because I just thought about something that led to the Civil War in America, how when one state that was a free state next to a slave state, the slave state got got to join the union before the now territory that wanted to organize and become a free state. And if you remember what they call, was it latitude 32? American history, if I remember it well. So, okay, states above a certain latitude could never own slaves, and slaves below a certain latitude slavery could happen then.
Yes.
So, yes, could own slaves. Those are some little nitty-gritty things of American history. So this slave state, when it came time for the free territory that wanted to join the union of the states of America. The people in the slave state were not happy that they were going to have a free state next to them, because they were afraid that their slaves were going to run and go into the free state, and they would never be able to find their slaves, because this was it was called the was it Nebraska Compromise or Missouri Compromise, one of those in American history. I need to brush off again on my American
I have
history.
forgotten. I think it was Missouri. I'm not quite sure. I can look it up quickly. But go
Yes.
ahead.
But so what happened? The people in the slave state ran and went to the free territory to vote so they could dilute the vote. And that created tension. Of course, thank God that territory gained its union into the states of America as a free state. But there was some fraudulent. So what am I saying? When you, as an Amazonian citizen, you go to illegally vote for La Republique president, you are legitimizing the oppression of Southern Cameroons by approving that that president should be your president.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand it that way, then you will continue to vote and think it doesn't matter. It matters. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a pastor in the time of Hitler. I think he had this saying, I'm going to paraphrase it, that when good people stay quiet when injustice is happening, they indirectly are acquiescing and approving for that injustice to continue.
Absolutely.
So if you go and vote, you are legitimizing an authority to continue to oppress the people of Amazonia and give them another time. And they'll say, the Amazonia people, well, they got 100%, 99% in the
Mm-hmm.
northwest region, in the southwest region. Just have your ghost town and stay home. Don't even vote for any representatives that say they are going to so-called parliament, because if you put them there, it means that you're supporting them and you are part of that system. I wish I would be able to prick the consciences of every Southern Cameroon citizen. You can choose. It is okay. You have the choice. You can choose to be part of La République. Even if you want to become their citizen, do it the right way. But leave the people and the statehood of Ambazonia free of the oppressive rulership and dominance of La République de Cameroon over the people of Ambazonia. So don't vote. Whether you are LGH here, encourage your people, educate your people, send messages to them in the dialect to help them understand. And if they don't even understand the implication of this, we will have to educate, educate, and educate. And the number one thing, as long as you go and so-called vote for so-called parliamentarians, as for their senators are by the presidential appointment. So you have no say about that one. So if you vote for a parliament, it means that you are sending a representative to go into another country's parliament, and therefore they claim that because they are seated there, then means that you are part of that nation. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that you're part of that nation. But the few that go and vote, I know that multiple elections have happened in La République de Cameroon since 2016, or let me say 2017. But the challenge has been that even with the boycott of those elections, CPDM has always claimed victory, because you had a few people that were there to vote, besides the military that they have put them there to vote in the name of the people of Ambazonia. Let me say something here. Do you remember early on in the struggle when certain quartiers in Yaoundé or Billy Biamasi were Anglophones, let me use the word Anglophones, were predominantly living? They went and rallied them, arrested them, took their identity cards, and kept
Mm-hmm.
them. Why do you
Yes.
think they did that? They needed to extract information so that they can create voting cards. And when
Mm-hmm.
they want to rig election, you have voted without even knowing that you were voted. And they need
Absolutely.
to know so they can use that. Calm down the line, they can say, they can even create somebody with your identity information and what we call they steal your identity and pose as you and do things and say that, see, they did this. So we have to be very careful. We need to educate our people. We need our people should be bold and stand firm. Stand firm to resist the edge that you have must vote. I know in every struggle, revolution, injustice, you always have a minority that are enablers to, because of some benefit, they want the evil to continue and they enable and aid the perpetrators. So, county chairs, educate. Um, those of us in other arms of the federal government, we need to educate and remind our people it's under no obligation that they have to vote. And maybe
You.
one thing
Mhm.
that may need to happen is on those election days, massive ghost towns, and then the
Say that.
ASA should be the ones to roam the streets and keep the peace and let the people be safe.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. You know, at the level of what people have been doing so far, respecting ghost towns on country Sundays, we really, really applaud you for doing this year in, year out. I mean, this is just one solid way of telling the colonizer that we don't support you. We really own our land. So this idea of ghost towns must continue in 2025 and have specific days for shutdown, telling everyone that this is what the people want. Um, when we're talking about what happened in transpired in 2024, and I think that will help us in 2025. I forgot to remind us about the United Nations Committee Against Torture, how they grilled the Cameroon government. That doesn't go unnoticed. It's something that is telling the world that these people are abusing Southern Cameroonians. They are terrorizing Southern Cameroonians. It's a committee against terrorists, or against torture and some form of torture or acts of terrorism. So this leading to 2025 is giving us a boost where we know that our information is out there. We just need to know how to use it to make things better for us. So, Mawini, we are saying that at an individual level, uh, we must be focused and do our part. At a minimum, continue with supporting financially. At a minimum, continue to supporting financially, and also volunteering whenever we can, wherever we can, and those in official leadership position should be able to do what they can to make sure that they are really in charge of their different arms. If you're county chair or your LGA chair, work hard to make those arms a working structure and not just there in name only. This idea that they have to tell us who we are, it's something that really baffles me. I'm referring to something that I heard that was one of Kamto. He himself is claiming that he's a leader. I know during this next election, they will think that they have a leg here or there, but the winner is already there. Whether Bia is alive or dead, he's already the president. I'm going to project who's the president. Whether the president is alive or dead, he's already the president. But whatever happens during that time, it's going to be an opportunity for Southern Cameroonians to thrive. So let's keep our eyes open. I don't know, my Winnie, whether you have a word on advice, regardless of this voting issue, on what we really have to do to keep our eyes open, to know when to strike, because we have to know when to strike. When they say when the rod, the iron is hot, that's when you strike. That iron is going to be hot soon, and this is the year for us to strike and really get an inch closer to that boya, and what not even getting, just reclaiming our territory. That's what we want, reclaiming our territory. We're going to be ending the show soon, so I need your closing remarks on this topic.
You mentioned being focused. It's very key and important to remain engaged and focused, because you cannot be focused if you're not engaged. Let me put it this way. If I walk by during the Christmas season, you see how the Salvation Army has those people collecting money. I may pass by there in that kettle and throw some money. I just gave a donation, but I'm not engaged in there. I don't know how that money runs. I don't know what they do. I just gave something and I moved on. But there will be a difference if I was engaged and want to know what kind of people they help. How can I be part of this? How can I support their mission? And then I will stay engaged, and then maybe I will do more. I will put my time. So the best thing is if we can educate more of our brothers and sisters to see the importance of us being engaged in this struggle, whether we like it or not, whether it delays or it comes sooner, there is a free Ambazonia that is going to be established in Boya. And when that does happen, what will likely happen is you don't want to be the one that will say, oh, and I know. Because guess what? Maybe those of us who are engaged now may find ourselves that when we get home and they say, because you were in diaspora, you had the opportunity of engaging and you chose to, we'll give you tax breaks. Your family, tax break. And the others may have levies. Who knows? I am not saying that there are laws that are already put in place. It might be, they might have a transition law to help reward and applaud those who pay the ultimate price with their lives, with being under the threat of the bullet, and those who help with their pockets. So I want to encourage us that we stay engaged and support. One important thing, every time we have a draft and we raise money, do you know what happens? La République trembles because they know, wow, those people are not giving up. Even if we raise $500, even if we raise $5 million, as long as we all come and engage in that fundraiser event, whether it's a transition draft or a TV draft or a women's program draft, once we engage and do that, what happens is it tells the international community we're serious about this. We're putting our money where our mouths are, and we believe in our convictions, and we stand for justice, and we want to support it till we see it accomplished. So, encouraging every one of us to stay engaged, to stay involved, and to support, and to volunteer when we are unable. It may be you praying, it may be you helping some child in the neighborhood whose parents were killed or were taken to jail. You help give them some food. So what I'm saying is all this happens not only in diaspora but also on the ground, helping that refugee who is sick and may not be able to support, and you have this little, you can help them go to get some health care. So there is a lot that each one of us can do. You know, when Hitler was ravaging, going all through with his Third Reich in Europe, he just got to some countries that just bow, and because they were afraid of his Gestapo, and so they just let him be. But do you know what eventually happened? No matter, the Second World War was fought, but Hitler was defeated. And guess what? Countries went back to what? Just the injustice may be for a while, but ultimately justice will come. It may be slow, but it will happen. So let's not give up.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Thank you for gracing our house today, the Voice of the Horizon, this first show of the year. Again, it was just appropriate for you to be the first guest, being the Speaker of the House, being a solid member of the Women's Department in the sense that you are really there to assist us whenever we need you. And I really appreciate you for being here today. And I look forward to more shows with you. Thank you so much. Fellow viewers, fellow Ambazonians, we've come to the end of the show. We're talking about our plans for 2025. There are many things that are working in our favor. There's a new regime in the United States of America. President Trump is now in office. We understand that the Secretary of State that he has, Marco Rubio, is somebody who may be interested in our plight and could assist us get where we want to get. That is one thing that we look forward to. And just to remind everyone that you never know tomorrow. Look at what happened to Syria, and Assad's regime is just gone, just like that. It happened overnight. Nobody was expecting it. The war between Russia and Ukraine has stretched now for how many years, which was something that would have taken. The goal was that it would have taken just a few months, give or take. Just like our case, the war between Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroon, which was something that they imposed on us, thinking that they were going to just crush us like ants. And here we are still standing tall and finding ways to defeat the enemy. Saying all of this to give everyone watching us hope. Hope is such a very important sentiment that wherever there's hope, there's a way to fulfill dreams. And we are saying that 2025 should be a year where we reclaim our territory. You have to put in mind what you want. If you say that's what you want, then that's what you will achieve. And I'll be giving all Southern Cameroonians Ambazonia to just have this mental change that we want to reclaim our territory. So 2025 is a year of reclamation, the year of us really physically getting home to Boya and celebrating. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for being on the horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, and we hope that this year will bring us so much fruit and joy and love. Until we see next time, Happy New Year once again to each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Of course, but it's not there. Da, 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 da.
2025 is hopeful. So let's keep it hopeful.
Yes.
I think Paddy was expecting us to be here for 2 hours or more.
Yeah, exactly. And we started a little bit late though, but we went to 11, which is good enough.
I think this is a revolution. Some guns.
At the assembly to consult on a certain number of proposals, and if that assembly accepts or rejects the proposal, that is democracy. If somebody will argue that there is no democracy in revolution, I'd like to remind them that we are in the 21st century and revolutions practice democracy too. We're working for the people, and we cannot make any decision without consulting the people. The result of the consultation will determine whether we go forward or we continue where we are today. I want to let everybody know that